Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
Proceed to your post assignment. All units proceed to your post assignment.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation show. We are live from Ponce, Puerto Rico today. Me and Jake are on the road for our day jobs. Jake, congratulations on getting into the Gulf of America today and snorkeling. First time I've seen you in shorts in the 5 or 6 years I've known you, and to see you break that boundary and go into the Gulf there and snorkel and have a great day. It was awesome. Kudos to you, brother. Tonight, we have a great episode. We have Chaplain Major, U.S. Air Force Major Matthew Spencer and his wife, Kristina Spencer. They bring over 20 years of combined experience in ministry, counseling, and leadership to their work with military couples and families. He is a U.S. Air Force chaplain with a background in security forces, provides pastoral care, spiritual growth opportunities, and worship leadership to airmen and their families, leveraging his experience, service across enlisted and officer roles worldwide. Kristina, an ordained minister, XO marriage content writer, and certified marriage mediator, has led impactful women's ministries, youth adult groups, and large-scale events while mentoring others in their faith and relationships. So without further ado, let's welcome Matt and Kristina to the Misfit Nation show. Welcome, Matt and Kristina.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be here.
Definitely. How's it going?
They're doing good here. It's great to have you and all your friends behind you. I know some of our audience will love that. Some might not.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
And actually, you say friends. They are his friends. Each of them have the name.
Of
We
course.
have named them all. And actually, in front of us, there are even more friends.
Hopefully they all weren't friends when they met you.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
I'm glad we were able to get this going. I think we worked through your publicist or somebody got us together on here. It was a little, I know it's a little weird how we do things here, but some people don't show up when we don't do that. You guys did, and you're amped, so it's awesome. So
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, why not? This is great.
I gave basically a 2-sentence blurb on you guys. If you don't mind, just give us a little more from as far back as you want to go to how we got to where we are today.
You want to start? Go ahead.
He's a better talker, but I guess I can start. Oh man, I was born and raised in West Virginia. Grew up there after high school, joined the Air Force, and that's a funny story on how that happened. I'll tell that real quick with my options that I had. I had some options coming out of high school. West Virginia, you get a lot of options, right?
My God.
Hey, I graduated high school there, so that was the first big step, right? Yes. So, I told my dad, I had a small scholarship to play baseball. I had the option of joining the Air Force, and I had the option of working at Walmart in the sporting goods department. And keep that in mind, because look around. I really wanted into the industry, okay, of the hunting and fishing industry. So
He wanted the discounts.
The
Let's be
discounts.
honest. He
That's
wanted
what
the
it
discounts.
so, about time to graduate. And my dad's like, so what are you thinking? And I said, you know what? I've really put some effort into this one, and I really don't think I'm ready to go to college. So I'm not going to play any more ball. But I really want to stick around here, and I really feel like I think the sporting goods department at Walmart is my go-to. I think that's what I'm going to do. And he looked at me and he said, tomorrow we're going to the recruiter and you're going to sign up for the Air Force. So that's what I ended up doing. So, hey, that's how I got started. And, joined the Air Force, went to basic training, ended up, going into the security forces career field in 2000. So it's been a little bit, 25 years or so. And that's where I met this amazing young lady right here, was in Wyoming. And so that's kind of how the connection was made. I was there running convoys, doing different things in Wyoming during 9/11. It was a little sketchy period of time there. And we got really close and started dating for a while. We knew each other for a while, but we started dating and ended up, my next assignment was to Korea. So I had to go do a year remote. And that was tough. That's part of the book, actually, is that period of time where, we were getting married. We got married while I was in Korea, spent our whole first year apart. we don't recommend that. That's
No.
not what we're looking for. We're not trying to tell couples that's a good idea. But hey, in military life, sometimes that's what you get, you get thrown, and that's the cards we were dealt. So, flourished through that time, even though it was difficult, but, made it through that, went to Ohio for a couple of years and then got out, went to school and learned of the chaplain program. I honestly was in for 6 years doing that job on the enlisted side and never saw a chaplain, didn't know they existed. And I hate to say that, not trying to cut the chaplain corps there, but I just didn't know they were around, didn't know that was an option. And, really got close with the Lord after getting out and finding my way a little bit. She's the one that encouraged me to go to school, and that's what I ended up doing, and came in on the chaplain side of the house in 2013. And we've been going at it ever since. So It's been an awesome journey.
Yeah. And I think, you have this kind of, have this misconception when you come into that world where you're like, I'm going to do ministry. It's going to be great. We're going to see all these things. And, first week on the job, he had a divorce, a suicide notification, and then a domestic situation. First week.
Wow.
You realize right away that ministry is people repair. That it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365, that we don't get federal holidays. And when you're in the military, there's a unique component to it. And throughout our journey, I think we saw 12 suicides in 1 year, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah, it was extremely tough period.
Which was really tough. And that was really a turning point for us, because throughout this journey, we were so focused on doing all these good things, doing the unit engagement, doing the events, making sure that we were out of the pulpit and into the hearts and minds of the people on base. But at the same token, we weren't doing that care for each other. And what happened to us was it really took a strain on our marriage. And we got to a place in our marriage where divorce papers were on the table. And I knew that wasn't God's best for us. But I didn't know how to fight for my marriage. And it took a season of about 9 months where God did individual work in us and brought us back together collectively. And that's really what birthed Valor and Vows. We thought, the principles that God taught us in that season, they were very, very similar to what we were experiencing in military life. God taught us what it meant to tactically engage as a couple. He taught us how to fight fair. He taught us what those rules of engagement are in marriage, but he took us to his word and showed us what all that meant. He taught me what chain of command was, and that it wasn't about control. It was about beauty and partnership. So we really thought, okay, well, if God can do this for us, how much more does he want to do for our couples? And when we see nothing but crisis come constantly with the divorce rates increasing and PTSD increasing and all of these things, we thought, no, there is a better way. There is hope for you. So through that experience, we started slowly writing the tactical guide. And then God really just put it on my heart this year that I had to be obedient. And I said, God, I don't know what to do. I'm not a publisher. I don't have all the tools. And he reminded me what he reminded me all those years ago when Matt accepted the call. He said, I equip who I call. I will equip you to do this. I will put you in the right path with the right people. I just want your yes. So when we gave him that yes and said, okay, God, use us in whatever way you want, that's when this project was birthed. And we're hoping that, we can, use it as a blessing for other couples to let them know that there is hope for you. If we can be that living proof, how much more can that happen in your life?
Absolutely.
Definitely. And Jake jumped on and said he got married on R&R from Iraq to his wife. So he kind of knows.
I saw that. Yeah. Shout out, Jake. I saw that. That was good.
My brother gave a little sweet home Mountain Mama take me home on there. He threw that up there. So
that's it. Country roads. Let's go.
Yes. Literally. Okay. So just a sidebar, has nothing to do with our conversation. Every time we go home to West Virginia and we're on the highway, we go through the tunnel and there is the sign that says, welcome to West Virginia. We intentionally play John Denver as we're driving through.
We do that. Yes.
So my wife is from West Virginia as well. She's
nice.
okay.
from the east side, Levels, West Virginia, by Romney. We
Okay,
just
yeah.
went there in November and picked up her high school car and drove it back to Tennessee. 67 Volkswagen Bug.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I hear the Mountain Mama stuff all the time. She did graduate high school as well and college. So she's the exception, not the rule as well.
There's at least two of us out there. Yeah.
Her sister's a doctor in Georgia. So yeah, free.
We're good.
On our first wedding anniversary, I got my orders to go to Korea. So we were married a year, then we got my orders, and I left within 30 days. And I was stationed on Busan Air Base.
Yeah, that's where I was. Yeah, that's where I was. Yeah.
That was my first trip to Korea, and all my friends in the Army said I wasn't in Korea because I was there. So,
okay.
yeah, so everything you're saying was, it's all like flashbacks. It's like everyone goes through the same thing without even realizing it.
Yeah.
No matter what path you're on in the military, like you were enlisted, then became into the chaplain's corps. No one really realizes that you're all in that same exact path and hitting them same bumps, but you don't want to talk to each other.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think
that's really what
where
this
you
is
come in.
about.
Yeah.
It's about having those intentional conversations, because then when you do, you build that camaraderie and you build that community, and then that's what helps build that resiliency.
Right. And I think that's a thing that we have, especially the GWAT veterans, a lot of us don't like to talk about any problems that we have. And I know for me, from my first tour in Iraq, 2003, 2004, I came back, and right away my wife and daughter said, "Something's wrong with you." I said, "No, it's you. You're wrong." And it wasn't until 2016 that I finally got help. And now I'm on a way better path now. And so thankfully, I have a strong wife that from West Virginia, of course, that beat the crap out of me mentally to make me go straight. So.
Good deal. And, we deal with that a lot. My current position, I'm so blessed to be working with our military training instructors. So all of my guys are the hat wearers. They're the MTIs, the ones that are molding our next generation. And it's been the best job that I've ever had. Getting to try to pour into those lives and those men and women who are responsible for that. That calling. To come here and to help shape our force. I mean, but what you just said was, makes me think there's so many difficulties that come along with that type of job and that type of lifestyle, because the hours worked, and the stress of that job, it is real. I heard the horror stories before I came in, a lot of hours, a lot of, things that they have to go through, and their families suffer. But what we've really figured out is by being here, a little bit of love, a little bit of care, taking care of those guys, meeting them where they are in their life, and just being a ray of sunshine and bringing some Jesus to them, man, you can thrive in those environments, even if it's a tough environment, and that's what I really want to try to get across to our military folks, especially these type of guys I'm working with now, is no matter how bad it gets, you can make this the best assignment you've had. You can make this time a period of growth for you and your wife, you and your family. And man, being able to come in and do retreats for these guys and being able to counsel these couples, which we've been able to do here in this job, and really show them, hey, no matter what you're going through, there's a God that's greater than that problem, and getting them to see, man, faith really is a big aspect of my life here. And the crazy thing about the military and being a chaplain is a lot of times you're taking it to them. That's our job. We're taking those things to our folks, and you can't expect them to come to you all the time.
Right.
You have to take that out to them and just be alongside them, understand what they're going through, and be able to, get in a position to where you can help them no matter what aspect of life that they're struggling through. So we see, the marriages, the relationships, struggles, but I think here we've been able to come in and really, do a good work with a lot of those couples and show them that, hey, you don't have to have a hard time in this assignment, and I think that's a piece that we need to bring to the rest of the forces. Man, listen, no matter where you are, this is a period of growth for you.
Yeah.
And don't look at it as a negative. So,
well, and I think again, going back to what we went through as chaplains, we're supposed to have everything together.
Right.
we're supposed to be the ones that, everything's perfect. And when we were falling apart, I remember Matt coming to me and he was like, well, who do I go to? I'm a chaplain. I have 100% confidentiality. I can't even talk to you about stuff that I'm going through. So who do I have as an advocate for me? And talking about that PTSD piece, that really weighed on him for so long. And honestly, I didn't know how to help him. It really took me as a spouse going to the Lord and saying, okay, you know the burdens and the weights that he carries. I'm thanking you that you are giving him that counsel. You are giving him that comfort. And you are also giving him that conduit where he can get the health and the support that he needs. So, and we see it all the time, whether it's the NCOs, the first sergeants, the senior NCOs, it doesn't matter. They're in that position of supervision or leadership. And they're like, I gotta be on my game all the time. It'll all just come out in the wash eventually. And what we try to tell them is like, no, consistency beats intense effort every time. If we can have a safe space where you guys can come, even if it's offline, if it's not in the office, if you don't want to come there and you want to go somewhere else, grab a cup of coffee, do whatever you want to do, we want to be able to provide that for you. Because if we can have these intentional conversations and do what Matt likes to call the proactive primary care, we can stop doing triage.
Right. Definitely, yes. And I think a lot of the chaplains, people are afraid to talk to them because of the confidentiality thing. Some people don't trust that confidentiality clause there. They think it's not real, or they don't think it's going to actually work for them. And for me in Kandahar, Afghanistan, 2010, I lost my first soldier on my third deployment. And the chaplain and me, we were polar opposites, obviously. I was going outside and he was trying to always bring me in and do some spiritual guidance with me, and I would push him away. And then this happened, and he was the first guy that came to me and just sat down with me and talked to me while I was in that spiral of what to do for the rest of my platoon. How do I get through this? What am I supposed to do? And Chaplain Sheets was the guy. He said, look, we're going to get through this together. I'm going to take care of you. You're going to take care of them. And together we're going to get them all home. And that was my goal, just doing my best to get them home without losing another one or them doing something to get on CNN. Mm-hmm. We got them all home, and I thanked him there. I thanked him when we got home. And if I still was in touch with him now, I would hug him every day. But he took care of me and all my guys.
That's really good to hear, because I boil it down to, we just do life together.
Yes.
That's my job, is to go out and do life with my guys, and we're all going through it.
Yeah.
I always say you're either about to go into something, you're in something, or you're coming out of something, so it's one of those phases.
Cyclical.
Cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of fits all of us. And it's just getting to know your guys and spending time, with them. And that's where you build that trust.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go back to that confidentiality piece, honestly, in a new unit, it can take 8 months or so, to build that type of trust. And, when you're on a 6-month deployment, that's tough.
Yes.
So you really got to hit the ground running. So I get it. It's like, man, do I really want to talk to this guy or not?
Yeah.
And for us, it's going in and really, hitting the ground running, like I said, and getting to know everybody, getting to know their kids, getting to know their family, knowing what they're going through, and just doing life with them.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest key to success in what we do as a chaplain side, for sure. And it sounds like he did a great job with you and taking care of those guys. So that's really good to hear.
He got us all back, and we're all still whole. So it's a good family. That's where the Misfit Nation came from, that platoon. So
that's awesome.
Big circle for that. So.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys when they're in those instructor positions, like they are to where you are there, they feel guilty that they're not going forward with their brothers and sisters that they were with in their last unit. So they kind of hold that, I'm not doing anything because I'm here. And they still neglect their family without even realizing it, because they don't think what they're doing is as hard as what they did when they were overseas or wherever the Air Force would send them. Do you find that as a problem as well?
Yeah, I've seen that, because, man, it's such a diverse group, and there's so many career fields that they all come from. Well, you got to think, as instructors, we typically get some of the best from every career field. that are there doing a developmental assignment, as they call it, within in the Air Force, because they're coming there to develop outside of their normal career field. So like you said, it takes them away from that normal mission set, and they don't deploy here, and they're coded to a place that they don't have that opportunity to deploy, because they need those instructors here to develop our trainees. So yeah, and then they go back to that space and they're kind of trying to figure it all out again. Or those folks are seeing them come back to the unit or come back to a new assignment, and they're like, where have you been for 3 or 4 years? And it's like, well, I've been doing this, and so I see a lot of them kind of struggle, honestly, with the transition piece. And that's something we really had to work on with our guys, is how do you transition from this environment, which is pretty intense, long hours. Right now they're working 6 days a week, 10-hour shifts. That's the standard. Hopefully they get that one day off, and so a lot like a deployed setting, and that same type of tempo, and so when they go back to that career field, how does a family transition to that? And we see a lot of friction there, and how to get them back into that normal mindset of, okay, I can go back and do my normal AFSC now. I can go back and fit back into this unit. So that's one thing that we really work on, with our folks here, because you're here doing that job for 3 or 4 years nonstop, developing, trainees and developing airmen, and bam, here you are back in, cyber career field, or you're back here in your security forces career field, or you're over here in medical. How do you fit back in? And that's probably one of the hardest things that they go through.
We try, we intentionally have at least a 6-month period of time that if we can teach them how to plan to transition back into their career field, it's a lot smoother. We find that that's a much smoother way of handling it. From the spouse's side, though, it's quite interesting, because they have said to me many times, sometimes I feel like a deployment would be better, because in a deployment, I have autonomy to just kind of like run the household. The kids are used to him not being gone. We don't have to worry about it, or her being gone, or whatever the situation is. But in this environment, the tempo is so high that when they're here, they're not here. And so what I try to teach them is, okay, having that normalcy, making that time that you have with them quality versus quantity. What does that picture look like? Because again, this is just for a season. It's not for the duration of your career. This is a short stint in time, that if we can give you these tools to help you guys navigate this tempo, navigate communication, navigate your home setting, get those things set up for success, it makes it so much more, powerful and so much more fruitful for them in the long run.
Definitely. We got a question from the audience here. From @WhiskeySoul. What are some of the most common challenges you see in military marriages, and how do you help couples overcome them? Thank you, Whiskey Soul.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I will tell you, the funniest thing is people think that the military is what causes the challenge.
Right.
And what we have found in over 20 years of doing this, it's not. It's the things that you have brought into it that haven't been addressed prior to bringing into it. What it does do is it definitely makes it rise to the surface, and it could amplify it. Anything, I will tell you, one of the top things that we see is a misalignment of priorities. We talk about in our book that your marriage is your mission. And we teach couples that the way that God created priorities is that when you put him first, then you put your spouse first, everything falls into place. It's just like that oath of office, to put that service before self. So when you align those priorities, it's not that your challenges change, it's that you're better equipped to handle those challenges. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because just think about it in a mission, in a military mission, the problems don't change a lot of times. A lot of times it's the same type of mission you're doing. It's just, how are you tackling that? What are your priorities? What's the foundation of it? And that's what we see with our couples. So with that question, I'm going back to what she said, misalignment of priorities. That's the biggest thing that I see as a chaplain dealing with couples, is that, you know, and a lot of times you think, oh man, every couple that comes to you is going to have this big giant, you know, hurdle that they're going to have to overcome. And it's just a life-changing circumstance. You get those every now and then, but they're very rare. You know, what you get is a misalignment of priorities within that marriage and within that relationship, you know, whether it be communication or whether it be time or, you know, whether it be the kids or finances. You know, I'll listen to those couples come in and talk for 30 minutes and then ask them, hey, by the way, you know, where does God fit into your priority alignment? What position is he in? And they're, well, he's 7th or 8th probably. And, you know, and I'm like, I smile at them and they look at me like, oh, the light bulb just popped on. It's like, listen to me, you know, this is why you're having some of these struggles. And guess what? The good news for you is it's easy to fix. And here's how we do it, you know, and so to us, it's a misalignment of priorities, getting God out of balance. You got to have him at the top. And once you run that, your life and everything through Jesus first, and you're utilizing your faith and your personal relationship with him, that feeds into your marriage, which feeds into all those other things in your life and your family. And those priorities really start to line up. So it's really us just doing some, it's kind of like if you were going to the chiropractor and all your vertebrae, you got a couple out of a line, well, they pop it back in. That's kind of what we try to do as well.
And we see those big ticket items. We see that post-traumatic stress. We see the transition coming back from deployment. We see the suicides and how the families have to deal with that. But I will tell you, even in the alignment of priorities, what that does is it does this. It lets you know that you are never alone and you are never without help. So when you're facing those big challenges, those big rocks, those crystal balls in your life that all of a sudden break and cause this major catastrophe, when you have those priorities aligned, you're able to work through those things and come out on the other side with victory, because that's what happened to us. Once we aligned our priorities correctly and we individually cultivated our relationship with God, all of the stress that we were facing in our marriage, we were able to work through together, because then guess what happened? We realized that we were a team, and we were working together, not against each other.
And going back real quick to what she said about the suicides, the 1 year of 12 suicides, 11 of those suicides were from members who had already retired and were in the civilian workforce on our base in their 50s and 60s, who had just not dealt with the things that they had been through in their past. And here they got to a place where they didn't have that purpose anymore like they used to have. And they were struggling, which was causing division in their marriage, division in their family. And then they came to that conclusion. 11 out of 12. So I had to say, I really appreciate what you guys are doing and helping bring that to light and trying to help our veterans out, because, you know, it wasn't 12 active duty members. It was one active duty member and 11 of those folks who had served for 20 plus years that were the ones struggling. So, I just wanted to bring that to light as well and let you guys know. Thank you for what you're doing.
No problem. And if we can stop one every day, it'd be great. Those numbers, the numbers that come across us for the veteran side, it's astronomical. It's 22 that the VA wants to recognize, but it's actually about 44 a day. And it's a tough fight. It takes all of us to try to stop this fight. It's like Mike Tyson fighting someone, and the rest of us are just trying to absorb the punches and try to help our brothers and sisters not make that final decision before it has to happen. Let God make that decision for you, not you. So.
Yes.
And I think some of what we're talking about here resonates with a lot of people in the audience, of course, because I know a lot have had multiple marriages and such. But as a leader in the Army, I've seen so many people go through things in the Army that came from how they were brought up, things they've seen growing up, and not from what happened in the Army. So they bring that luggage with them, and whatever they learned growing up, that cultural, the values and norms, is what they bring in, and it's going to happen. It's going to be reciprocal and cyclical throughout their career, and that's why we wind up with the high divorce rate, or all the arguments and domestic stuff in the military, because it's a fishbowl. You can see it, but it's the same as it was if they were home.
Yeah. Well, that's what we faced in our marriage. I mean, our pastor said this a long time ago, and I just absolutely love this analogy. Marriage is like mashed potatoes. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, well, mashed potatoes is like the crescendo of the Thanksgiving dinner, right? What does it bring? It brings warmth. It brings comfort. Everybody likes to look at it. All the good things that are inside it, they're yummy. But let's backtrack. What was the process that those two potatoes had to go through before they became this delight that we all know and love and crave every Thanksgiving, right? They were two potatoes that had to go into boiling water. And when you've got two people who come from two different backgrounds and they have two different pasts that they may not have dealt with all of those things. And some of them we see so many times have different moral compasses. And now you're putting them together in this one environment called the amazing military that we love and we serve. Fireworks go off. And if you don't have those tools to be able to navigate that effectively, you're not setting yourself up for mission success. And that's one of the things that we draw our couples back to. You know, military teaches you all about how to have mission success. We don't want to have mission failure. And there are goals that you have, but there are systems in place to achieve those goals. Marriage is no different. We want you to have success in your marriage. We want you to know that it's possible to have success in your marriage, no matter what the military life looks like, but you have to have those tools. And when we can give you those tools, then you don't see those things happen.
Right. And if you don't have those tools, those mashed potatoes just wind up being potato pancakes tomorrow.
Exactly. And nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
There's not enough syrup for those on the second.
Yeah.
I mean, some people might like it. I can't say everyone won't like it, but I know I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
We got another question. This one's just for you, Kristina.
Oh, no.
From MK109 Free. How does your experience writing content for XO Marriage influence your personal approach to mentoring and ministry? Thank you, MK109 Free.
Thank you. So the content that I've written has really been from our military journey. It was funny when we were approached through XO Marriage to be able to provide that content for them. They saw that there was a gap in military marriage content. And they said, you know, you've been on this ride for 20 years. You've got all these experiences. You know, how would you guys like to do, you know, some work for us? And I jumped at the opportunity and said, absolutely. Because it was a lot of what I was already doing. It was a lot of the mentorship and the ministry that I was doing on a very small level within our local based community that now God gave me an opportunity to bring to a much broader audience.
Awesome. Thank you, MK109 Free. And a directed question. I haven't had one directed at one person.
I hope I answered your question.
I get another question like that. Tell us about the process of writing the book and what made you think to write the book instead of just staying with the approach you were going with.
I know. I always, tell folks, hey, we didn't write the book because we thought we had it all figured out.
No.
We wrote the book because we've been through some stuff.
Yeah.
We've been through those hurts. We've been through those trials and tribulations. And, why sit back on that? I tell my guys all the time, if you've been through something significant, I'll look at them. Have you been through something significant? Yes. Here it is. And I'm like, they're passionate about that.
Mm-hmm.
Use that.
Mm-hmm.
Use that to help your fellow brothers and sisters, help the next marriage, help the next relationship. And I feel that's what was on our heart to really try and do was, hey, we screwed some things up. How do we turn around, use that and show how the Lord can come in and heal those areas
Mm-hmm.
of your life, how he can transform things. And, by doing some things wrong, we learn how to do some things right
Mm-hmm.
by utilizing God's word. So I think for me, that was the biggest piece.
In teaching marriage curriculum for several years, there are no shortage of good resources that are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all wonderful. What we kept finding out when we were doing retreats with our military couples was they kept saying that this is so great, but it's not really speaking to us. We need something that speaks to us. And my heart behind this was, okay, God, out of all the experiences that we had, as Matt said, all the things that we did wrong, how can we give these couples a simple, practical, tactical approach to marriage. And that's where these 16 imageries came from. And in that, I had a lot of spouses that came to me and said, I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to introspectively, ask myself questions and think about things. And I said, okay, well, Lord, help me figure this out. So we structured it. It's, a tactical guide. It's very short. It's very succinct. It can be done as a individual study, a couple study, a marriage retreat, a conference, however you want to do it. But each section has discussion questions or things that you can just ask yourself. And at the end of every chapter, we've given you the prayers that really God gave us in that season that we're now giving to you as a tool. Not saying that this is the way, but it's just to get you started. And that was really one of the things that God just laid on my heart to do is in our world, we have so many things going on. And that was another thing I kept hearing. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time to read a book. I don't have time to do this. Well, this is structured where you can literally take 5 to 10 minutes of each day and just do one little section. So we wanted something that was impactful, that was authentic, that was from our own experience, but we also wanted to give them tools that were simple and tactical that they could apply in their daily lives.
And if you look at the chapters, I mean, you can see it's all military lingo, right? All the chapters are, and then what we do is take that and transfer it back to God's word and show how similar God's word can be, and the principles of marriage and his plan for our marriage, and how similar that is to what you do in a marriage that makes a marriage work, and tying all that together and really showing, hey, this is the way to success in your marriage. It's not through what somebody wrote, it's through God's word, not from just a book, but from, what God places in those pages and from his word, into your marriage. And that's what we try to bring to light with, this book was, tying the two together, because we understand that military language.
Yes.
We understand what those things are like, communication and watch your six and band of brothers and all those things,
Top cover.
Yeah. Yeah. Top cover, and think about it, all those things are biblical principles.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we really wanted to show our couples is, here's how you do this thing right.
And I know, I don't want to take up too much time, but sometimes when we approach the word of God too, a lot of the feedback that we would get from couples is that they would think it was too hard. I've never opened my Bible before. I don't understand how to get into God's word. I read it. It doesn't really make sense to me. And so when we were able to take those military principles and do exactly what Matt just said, that's when the light bulb clicked on. And then they realized that God's word is practical. It really is tangible, and it is something that they can take into their day. So that was kind of the final part of what really prompted us to bring this project to life.
Definitely. And that is Valor and Vows, a tactical guide to a mission-ready marriage. And it's on Amazon. I dropped a link in the chat, so you can grab that up now or later when you read this, when you're actually reading and listening at the same time. So that'd be great to get that going in your life. Do you guys give this book out when you do kind of retreats now or conferences? We do.
Yeah, we just did one last weekend, actually, for some of our folks from our unit. We had a 2-night, 3-day marriage retreat. We taught the book, taught the different aspects of it, and gave each couple, a copy of that book, and with some notes and some things to continue on and to keep growing. We wanted to write that as not just a sit down quick read, but we wanted to be able to, have that book utilized as maybe a couple wants to sit down and do it together. Maybe they want to read through it and do the questions and the prayers together. Maybe a men's group wants to get together and say, okay, men, let's strengthen our relationship. Let's do this book together as men. Same thing for the ladies. So we tried to design it in a way to where it could be utilized for a lot of different things, to include retreats, and it worked out well this weekend. A lot of great feedback. It's actually been used for some of our command spouses as well, from another chaplain who went and did that. And great feedback there as well. So that's our goal, is to get that content, to our folks, that hopefully they can gravitate toward that, because it's real to them, because we're living that life together, and it speaks directly to them as military couples, and that's our primary goal.
Yeah. And while it is for sale, we also do raise funds to be able to provide those resources for free, because we never want a couple to say that,
Right.
well, I don't have the money to buy the book, or I can't do it, or whatever. So we always want to do whatever we can to make that available, even more so in the long term than what we've already done.
Outstanding. And we got another question from the audience, and I said I'd never get pinpointed questions, but I got another one this time. It's for you, Spencer. So at Nancy Lee 82.
Oh, that's a good one.
Chaplain, your time and security forces shape your approach to spiritual leadership in today's Air Force.
That's a big one.
Oh man. So yeah, that's one that hits home for me. Like I said, I joined the Air Force in 2000. All of us know what happened about 18 months after I joined. Those attacks happened, those towers were hit. And September 11, 2001, the day I was on a convoy, I was in charge of a fire team, 4-man fire team. And, I can remember as a young airman first class, here I am, with 3 other guys that I'm in charge of, and never thought that anything like that would happen. Just at that point in my life, young, still learning, still super green. And I remember we didn't have the communication we have nowadays. You didn't have social media. You didn't have the cell phone texting and all that stuff that we have today, where all that info is readily available. We didn't know what happened. So we just came off of this convoy, went to turn our weapons in, was told to go to the briefing room, and await our next, orders. And I remember they didn't really tell us then what happened. They just told us to get back to where we were originally located. They sent us to a certain position to, where we would be for the next several days. And I can remember we got to our location and we turned on the TV, and we all just sat there and we turned on the news, and we kind of saw what was going on. They were doing the replays of the second plane hitting that tower. And I remember sitting in that little room on a couch with the 3 other people that were on my fire team, and looking at their faces, and none of us said a word. None of us said a word to each other at all. We just kind of looked at each other and were listening to what was going on and watching that on TV. And I remember sitting there thinking, all of us knew just by the look in our face, we're ready to die for one another. We love each other. We're here to take care of one another, and we're going to do everything that we can do to support what we have signed up for and what we raised our hand to do. And I remember right then is when it hit me how serious the job was, and how important that each one of us were to the mission. Nobody was, less important. Nobody had a harder job. It was just, hey, we're here together. Let's get this done. We're going to take care of one another. And I can remember, like it was yesterday, that's when I grew up. That's when I became an adult. That's when I became a man. Right there was in that very instance. And knowing that I've got to do everything I can to protect these 3 other members of my team. And, we ran convoys for another 1.5 years straight, and, kind of settled down a little bit. I PCS to another assignment, and, got out after 6 years on the security forces side. Really wasn't my calling on what I wanted to do the rest of my career. And I was a little bit lost, at that point. And I can remember, talking with Kristina and figuring out, how can I go back and help these guys? Because I know I needed help in that moment, and I didn't know where to get it.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to seek it out. And, so many people make mistakes, in life when you're at that point. And I remember learning about the chaplain candidate program in the chaplain corps. And, like I said, I'd really gotten strong in my faith at that point. And I was like, I'm from West Virginia, right? So I was like, I can't go to school. Like, we don't go to college. I'm not going to go back to, I'm not smart enough for that. And she's like, take a couple classes. So I was like, all right. So I started, I just started with a couple classes, loved it. And before you know it, here I am, getting a degree, and all because of her pushing me, and, ended up becoming a chaplain. And the reason why I did that was because I just wanted to help out guys that I used to be. That it's as simple as that. I'm not looking for a title. I'm not looking for a rank. I'm not looking for a position. All I'm looking for is to try to support and help the guys that I know I once was. And I was in a hurting place. Yeah. And I don't want to see our guys hurt, because they do enough sacrifice. Yeah. They do enough for our country. And if I can come in and support them and provide them a way to faith, and to understand that our Lord is the way, the truth, and the life, that's what I'm trying to do. And just be a support system for them, because it's a lonely place when you don't think you have anything there for you or anybody there for you. And my goal was to try to change that as a chaplain. And that's been my mission ever since. So, long answer to a question, but yeah.
Painted the picture, and if that didn't answer that question, I don't know what would have. That's an awesome painting of that picture of how it all evolved. And I think that's awesome what you did then and what you're doing now. Jake from our Tuesday crew jumped in here with a question as well. Because of social media and other distractions, do you think it's more difficult for younger couples to actually speak and interact with each other?
Yes.
Yes.
Jake, yes, it is. It's so funny. We had our couples retreat this past weekend, and one of the biggest things that the spouses would tell me is, I cannot deal with the work chats. It's so maddening and frustrating that when I finally get my husband or my wife home, they can't put the phone down because they're still at work. And so what we really, really try to get across to our couples is, that face-to-face communication, even if it's just for 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, where you intentionally unplug. Don't talk about the kids. Don't talk about the finances. Don't talk about anything else. I remember when Matt and I were young marrieds and we had our son, we just do break and bake cookies, and we would just, enjoy each other's company. Sometimes it wouldn't even be like a full conversation. It would just be, laughing or hanging out or whatever. But because we did that helped us grow closer. And I will tell you this, in 5 minutes or in 10 minutes, the world is not going to stop. So if I could encourage you, to whoever it is that's out there that struggles with those things, because we have everything so easy now, it's instant access. And we think there's this, they call it FOMO, the fear of missing out if we're not constantly on the phone. And I hear it in the workplace from our teams that they say, well, if I'm not on the chat, then I'm missing something. I'm missing something that's going on with that trainee, or I'm missing something that happened, or whatever discipline or whatever decision. And I'm like, okay, but for 5 minutes, the world is not going to stop.
Exactly.
You can take that 5 minutes and give your spouse that intentionality, and I will promise you that it will revolutionize your life. Our pastor said this years ago. If you can take the first 15 and the last 15 minutes of your day, and he's talking about your walk with the Lord, and unplug from technology and sit down and have that devotion time or have that reading time. There's so many things out there, the miracle morning, all of this. But the reason why they're telling you that is because your brain needs it. Your physical body needs it. It's it's your whole being that needs to unplug from those things. So yes, we see that all the time, and we constantly counsel them to try to unplug and make that unplug intentional.
Yeah. And only thing I can throw into that for that question, which I really appreciate that question because that's very relevant. And what I see is, if you're looking for it, you can find it.
Yeah.
If you want, and that's social media. And I see it affect our couples because they get so attached to what's going on in that world, which half of it's not even true.
Yeah.
That it takes away from their family aspect. It takes away from their kids. It teaches them a wrong way sometimes of relationship. Mm-hmm. or you're raising your children.
Yeah.
And I think there's a healthy balance there.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to understand and know what's going on. However, if it's taken away from your family, that cost is too high.
Right.
That cost is too much.
Yeah.
So if it's stealing your peace, it costs too much.
Yeah.
So, there needs to be a healthy balance there, because, if you're learning how to do relationship based off of those platforms, misalignment of priorities.
Yeah.
Get back to what we talked about before.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch you missed on that one. Yeah. In my book, 13 Step Guide to Success, I tell people to look up 3 inches and stop looking head down on your phone. There's a whole
So
world
good.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, look at someone smile, change their day just by smiling. Maybe reach down, pet a dog. I'd rather pet a dog most days, but either way, you do something. Look at a person, make them smile, pet that dog, make that dog happy, and the phone's still going to be there. It's still going to be burning in your body.
I really love that, because I read something this morning. I try to just read a little bit every morning and look at some things and inspirational. And somebody said, I'm trying to think of the exact quote, but basically it was like, hey, you're going to have an opportunity today to say something nice to somebody.
Yes.
Or do something nice for somebody. You better take that opportunity. And man, if we all live by that, this will be a lot better place.
Yes.
Because
Imagine that.
every day I go to work, obviously in my career field, I have an opportunity to brighten somebody's day, but am I doing it? That's my question.
Yes.
I have to make sure that, hey, every day you need to go make a difference to somebody.
Yeah.
And I tell my instructors that all the time is, listen, whether you say a word to a trainee today or not, they're listening and they're watching.
Mm-hmm.
You're making a difference in every single person's life. So, I think too, getting away from social media a little bit as couples, even during our retreats, we don't let them get on their phones during our retreats while they're in. If they do it after they leave the session, then that's okay. But hey, you're not going to be taking phone calls during our retreat.
And it's so funny
no way.
because in the beginning of it, it's so crazy. Like there's an anxiety.
Yeah.
There's that anxiety, but then they start to relax a little bit, and then they start to engage, and you even see like their posture changes, everything. And sometimes when we're so caught up in what's going on in front of us with our phone, what is that doing? It's breeding isolation. And we're trying to completely avoid that. We want to bring you back to community. And I find that, you could get me on a tangent, as obviously you know that,
but we're so long-winded.
I know. Sorry.
It makes an hour go by very fast.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, that was a good one.
We have
follow up with us after if you want more.
We have one more question in the chat, and then we'll start our tail out of here. This is from Bob in Akron. What advice would you give to young couples just beginning their journey in military life? Thanks, Bob.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Okay, for the spouse, I will tell you, I was raised in a military world where community was everything. My military sisters were my ride or die people that I leaned on in those times when he was gone and I didn't have someone to help with our son or doctor's appointments or all of those things. I would say to the young couples, don't forsake your military community. The other thing I would tell them is this: as a spouse, you take that oath of office with your service member. I actually made a spouse's oath of commitment.
Yeah.
Because to me, it was so important. I wanted them to understand that. But I look at them, I'm like, okay, and it's in our book, what is that oath of office? I want you to recite that and I want you to meditate on it because you're taking it with them. Our picture might be different. We might not get the awards. We may not get the accolades, all of those things, but that commitment, we're on this together. We're on this journey as a ride or die team. And when you approach it that way, your marriage will be that much stronger.
I had a circumstance happen at a different installation that I'm in now, that there was a circumstance that happened with a spouse's husband. and they're trying to get a hold of the spouse, and the spouse didn't know where he worked.
Oh my.
They had to come all the way down to, does he wear a flight suit, green uniform, or does he wear camo to work every day?
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't say that to cut anybody or anything. It's just, listen, our spouses are just as important in the journey of military life as the member. Like, you have to understand that you're both taking that oath, like she said. You know, let me tell you what makes a powerful instructor right now is a guy who's got a good, sound, solid marriage and family at home, because he can, or she can, come to work and get the job done because they know home is good to go.
Yeah.
So they're free to come and work to their best abilities. But you and I both know, if you're struggling in your marriage, or you and the wife aren't doing well, or your kids, whatever, and you're not where you need to be, when you go to work, you're not where you need to be. So the mission's not getting done the way it should be getting done. And, you know, that's another thing I talk to my instructors about is, hey, you know, it starts at home. Your job starts at home, you know, and in your marriage. So that's the drive, and the principle is get a strong foundation, a faith foundation in your marriage first, which goes back to that question. You know, if you're starting out in the military in a brand new marriage, if you haven't done counseling as a couple for getting there and doing a strong, you know, Christian counseling, pre-marriage, do that. You know, get in. It's not because you're struggling. It's because you don't want to struggle. You know, learn those principles now. Get that encouragement, get those words, get those, you know, ways of doing marriage now, before you meet a crossroad, or before you meet a circumstance that challenges your relationship. So to me, it would be, you know, talk about things early, communicate very well with one another, you know, be transparent, and keep that line of communication strong between you, and know that both of you are just as important to the military mission as you know, it's equal. That's what we teach.
Awesome. I got two more questions for you. Neither one of these are hard. All right. The first one is, if anyone in the audience wants to get in contact with you guys, what's the best way for them to go about that, to either just chat with you or get you on their shows?
www.valorandvows.com is our website. Email is valorandvows@gmail.com. And if you have questions, you want further information, have us talk to you, whatever it is, that's the way to do it.
Awesome. And my second question is a softball question. Every night when we end our show, we ask our guests, what's 3 things our audience can do starting tomorrow to make them better humans? What would that be for you?
Daily intake of and exposure to the Word of God. Number 1. You got number 2.
That's the first one. Number 2, get up and hug or kiss each other and tell you love each other.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Number 3. Oh my gosh. Like I totally had a brain freeze here. 3 things that they can do.
Just look good like she does.
Do something hard. Do one hard thing.
Yeah. Do hard things. Yes.
Do hard things. The reason why I say that is because that actually rebuilds neurons in your brain, neuroplasticity.
See,
doing hard things. Do one hard thing.
She's not from West Virginia.
She had to shine that light on us again there.
Hey, go Mountaineers. No, and I'll take the 1 second to say, for everybody watching the military, thank you so much for your service. Thank you, you know, for what you do and allowing us to be a little bit a part of your life today. And I love you all for what you do, and thank you. God bless you. And that's from the chaplain saying to everybody there. We do what we do because we care and we love each other and we're taking care of each other. So thank you. And thank you, sir, for your service and what you've done as well for our country. God bless you.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate you guys taking some of your time tonight to hang out with us and the Misfit Nation and hitting those questions out the park tonight. It was awesome. Misfit Nation, I'll be in Puerto Rico until Thursday. You'll see the Tuesday crew produced from here on Tuesday night. Tune into them and send your questions. Make them guys think a little bit on their feet. And as always, we love you. Stay safe and be kind to those around you. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.